Hello everyone, welcome back. I am here with some more articles and we'll be talking about the Leicester. I just want to look at my notes. We're talking about Leicester Street Massacre about Willie Mills and Creel and them, okay? And what happened, okay? But he go really on this article he goes by Jesse Dotson, okay? So the classification is mass murderer. Characteristics is argument with his brother. Number of victims 7. Date of murders January the 8th, 1994 through March the 2nd, 2008. Date of arrest 5 days after. Date of birth December the 19th, 1974. Victim profile Haley Cox, his brother Cecil Dawson, 30, the brother's girlfriend Marissa Williams, 27, Holly Seals, 33, Shendry Robinson, 22, and his two nephews, Merrow Dawson, 4, and Cecil Dawson, the second. Two methods of murder: shooting/stabbing with knife, his penis. Location Memphis, Tennessee, USA. Status sentenced to 18 years in prison on November the 21st, 1994. Released on parole on August the 27th, 2007. Sentenced to 6 death sentences on October the 5th, 2010. Okay. Convicted murderer Jesse Dawson receives maximum 120 years sentence. November the 9th, 2010, the man already sentenced to death 6 times for the city's worst mass murder case received an additional 120 years in prison Tuesday for beating and stabbing 3 children who survived. Neither the relaxed, smiling Jesse Dawson nor his lawyers had anything to say in his defense, as the judge and prosecutor said Dawson has no regard for human life. In my 40 years of being in the criminal justice system in Shelby County, I've seen a lot of cases, and I don't know of anything more legally aggravated than this, said criminal court Judge James Beasley Jr. I guess we are used to seeing adults as victims, but it is uncommon for us to see children get killed, to see children mangled and butchered like this. Who? In my opinion, Mr. Dobson should never be allowed to walk the streets of society again. He's given up that right. In opposing the maximum sentence, Beasley gave Dawson 40 years consecutive for each of 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Last month, the jury that convicted him of the 6 Leicester Street murders gave him death sentences on each one. Prosecutors Ray Lipone and Reginald Henderson said the additional sentences are more than legal window dressing. There are 9 separate cases with 9 separate victims, and we're losing every legal measures to make sure he never walks the streets again, said Lipone, noting that each conviction will be reviewed on appeal. Each victim deserves a sentencing hearing. He brutalized those children and left them to die in their house. Dawson, 35, who had served almost 14 years in prison for a 1994 murder, was convicted of shooting to death his brother, Cecil, 30, on March 2nd, 2008, at 722 Leicester Street, and then eliminating witnesses including Marissa Williams, 27, Shendry Robinson, 22, Holly Seals, 33, and Cecil children, Camaro, 4, and Cecil, 2. Jesse Dawson, the children's uncle, then beat and stabbed Cecil, CJ Jr., 9, Cedric, 5, and Sinaya, 2 months. CJ, who was found with a knife protruding from his skull, and Cedric both testified that Uncle Jesse was the lone attacker. The dead and injured were left in the house for some 40 hours before they were discovered. The children were devastated, said their grandmother, Ida Anderson, who now is raising the children. This is something that has raped them completely. The children had been in counseling. The whole family had been in counseling. The grandchildren want to know why it happened, why he killed their parents. The children loved him, Uncle Jesse. All I can tell them is that God is in control and that He will take care of us. A special needs fund established for the children 2 years ago by First Baptist Church on Broadway's $139,000 and will place in the trust in probate court. Last month, officials issued a new plea for continued social and financial support, setting up the Dawson Children's Benefit Fund. Donations can be made at any Bank Tennessee branch. People have contributed to our needs, but our lives have been turned upside down, Anderson said. The children have undergone surgeries and have more to come. They're still scarring. Jesse Dawson's execution date is set for March 2nd, 2012, 4 years to the day after the murders, through a delay is a virtual certainty. Automatic appeals typically continue for more than a decade. True. Jesse Dawson timeline. November 21st, 1994. Pleads guilty to second-degree murder of Haley Cox in bad drug deal. Gets 18-year sentence. August 27, 2007. Released on parole. January 26, 2008. Parole and sentence expired. March 3rd, 2008. Dawson's brother, 3 other adults, and 2 children were found shot and stabbed at 722 Leicester Street. 3 children are critical injured. March 8, 2008. Jesse Dawson confesses after one of the surviving children identifies him, Uncle Jr., as the lone attacker. October 11, 2010. Dawson is convicted on all counts. October 12, 2010. Dawson received 6 death penalties. November 8, 2010. Dawson received an additional 120 years in prison. Jesse Dawson gets 6 death sentences for Memphis mass murder, 1 for each life he took. Memphis, Tennessee. The same jury that convicted Jesse Dawson of savagely killing 6 people, including his brother and 2 young nephews, in a Memphis home 2 years ago, sentenced him to 6 death sentences. Tuesday, one for each life he took. In less than 2 hours, jurors sentenced 35-year-old Dawson to die by lethal injection for the shooting murders of his brother's girlfriend, and 2 other adults, and the fatal stabbings of his 2 nephews, aged 2 and 4. 3 other children were stabbed but survived the grisly massacre. Dawson was convicted Monday of 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder in addition to 6 counts of first-degree murder for the 2008 attack. Authorities say the grisly massacre is marked as one of the city's worst mass murders. Yes, it is. Police say that after a day of drinking, Jesse Dawson shot and killed his brother, Cecil Dawson, in the head during an argument in the early morning hours, March 2nd, 2008. He then went after everyone else in the house with 2 guns, boars, and several knives. Cecil Dawson's girlfriend, Marissa Williams, 4-year-old Camaro Dawson, 2-year-old Cecil Dawson II, and friends Holly Seals and Shendry Robinson were also killed. Jesse Dawson, an ex-convict, showed little emotion as criminal court Judge James Beasley imposed the death sentences Tuesday. He merely nodded at officers escorting him out of the courtroom. Jurors listened to more than 2 weeks of emotional, grueling testimony before convicting Dawson, but it was the personal account of one of the survivors, 11-year-old Cecil Dawson Jr., that helped convince the Tennessee jury that it was Dawson who committed the crimes and not members of a gang, as he had alleged. The boy, known as CJ, was 9 years old at the time of the attack and waited some 40 hours for help until he was found in a bathtub with a 4.5-inch knife blade lodged in his skull. CJ solved it, said prosecutor Ray Lepone. He had the courage to come in here and point out his uncle. The boy, his 8-year-old Cedric Dawson, and Jesse Dawson's mother was key prosecution witnesses. The young boy told jurors in his testimony that he went to call for police and tried to fight off his uncle before ending up in the bathtub with a kitchen knife embedded in his head. True. Paramedics testified they thought he was dead until he started to twitch. According to authorities, Dawson, who was released from prison about 7 months before the killings, for a previous murder conviction, fled from the house by riding off on a child's bicycle. He is set to be put to death March the 2nd, 2012. Jesse Dotson get death penalty for Leicester Street murders. October 12, 2010. As a state prosecutor finished his impassive plea for the jury to return the death penalty Tuesday against convicted mass murderer Jesse Dotson, the defendant clapped his hands softly in mock applause. The attorney said Dotson was not surprised when the criminal court jury later sentenced him to death 6 times, one for each of the 2008 murders on Leicester Street. Their guilty verdict in 90 days, the previous day, sent a clear message, the attorney said. He was not disappointed but not surprised, said lead defense attorney Gerald Sakan. When the jury came back with a quick guilty verdict, he knew the death penalty was probably a foregone conclusion. Judge James Beasley Jr. said Dotson's execution date for March the 2nd, 2012, 4 years to the day when the 6 men, women, and children were shot and stabbed to death. May God have mercy on your soul, the judge said as Dotson was led away by officers. The 9 women and 3 men of the jury, chosen in Nashville and sequestered in Memphis, deliberated less than 2 hours before agreeing on the sentences. Defense attorneys had asked for life in prison without parole. Automatic appeals will continue for years, however, making the execution date mostly a legal formality. Dotson, 35, was convicted in the worst mass murder case in the city's history. He's a convicted killer out of prison just 5 months, and he killed 6 people, including 2 children. State prosecutor Ray Lepone told jurors in asking for the death penalty, "If not this case, what case? If not that defendant, what defendant gets the death penalty?" The children were chased down and carved up with kitchen knives. You know, those 2 women were begging for their lives. And now Jesse's begging for his? Across the courtroom, Dotson shook his head no, and moments later, mockingly appalled as Lepone took a seat. For the afternoon part of the sentencing hearing, Dotson changed from street clothes back to jail clothes that revealed forearms heavily tattooed with playing cards, dice, and other designs. Earlier in the hearing, 2 jurors wiped tears from their eyes as they viewed photos of the young children who had been beaten and stabbed to death at the house. Dotson, 35, was convicted of killing his brother and another man, 2 women and 2 children on March 2, 2008, at 742 Leicester. He told police and his mother that he killed his brother during an argument and then began eliminating witnesses. He also was convicted of 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder for beating and stabbing 3 other children, including 2 who told jurors that Uncle Jr. was the lone attacker. Jurors returned the death penalty after finding aggravated circumstances, aspects that increased the immortality of a crime for each victim. At least one such circumstance is required in each case when prosecutors seek the death penalty. Cecil Dotson, 30. Jesse Dotson had a prior second-degree murder conviction, and he posed a greater risk of death to 2 or more others when he killed Cecil. Marissa Williams, 27, same as above. Also, the murder was committed to eliminate her as a witness, and the defendant committed mass murder of 3 or more people within a 48-month period. Holly Sills, 33, same as above. Shendry Robinson, 22, same as above. Cecil Dotson II, 2, same as above. Also, the victim was less than 13 years old, and the murder was heinous, incestuous, and cruel, and involved abuse well beyond that necessary to cause death. See Merrill Dotson, 4, same as above. The children were repeatedly stabbed and beaten with boards. Prosecutors Reginald Henderson and Damon Griffin noted that Dotson claimed calm courtroom demeanor during most of the 14-day trial dissolved into anger when he testified on cross-examination Saturday. "I think we saw the real Jesse on Saturday," said Griffin. "You saw some anger and some rage. That was the real Jesse. He couldn't hold it in." True. For the defense, immigration expert Glory Sheetles told jurors that Dotson came from a broken family that moved frequently, was a disciplinary problem at home, and at school was an 8th grade dropout, and was 19 when he went to prison for 14 years for killing a man. There was a lot of movement, a lot of instability, said Sheetus, who worked for Enquesta Inc. He repeated the fourth grade twice, not because his grades were bad, but because he missed so much school. There was an absence of a stable home life. That was very important. She said during his 14 years in prison, he had one family visit and a few phone calls. Beasley set a November the 12th sentencing date for Dawson's 3 attempted first-degree murder convictions involving the children, ages 9 years, 5 years, and 2 months at the time of the crimes, who survived their stabbings. Dawson would be the 88th inmate on Tennessee death row and the 34th from Shelby County, which has by far more than any other country in the state. Jesse Dawson, found guilty of Memphis mass murder, could give death sentence. Okay. Memphis mass killing motivated by fear of jail, said prosecution. They say he committed one of the worst mass killings in Memphis history. Sibling argument led to Leicester Street mass murder, police say. In a mass murder so gruesome, it garnered international attention and caused police to consider gang conflict. A child witness led investigators to a family member who confessed to the brutal killings. Jesse Dawson, 33, was charged Saturday with 6 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. The District Attorney General Bill Gibbons said he will announce in the coming days whether his office will seek the death penalty. During an argument with his brother at 722 Leicester, Jesse Dawson pulled out a semi-automatic handgun and shot Sister Doreen Dawson, police allege. He then slaughtered the others to the house, including children, in an attempt to cover up the shooting. It is our belief that when Jesse left the home, he believed everyone in the home was dead, Police Director Larry Godwin said during a Saturday press conference. But as we all know, by the grace of God, 3 children survived. One of the surviving children told police Jesse Dawson was responsible for the killings, according to an affidavit filed Saturday. Dawson then confessed to the mass murder. For Dawson, the gruesome killings on Leicester Street made for an end to what was at times a hostile relationship with his family, arrest records show. His teenage home at 600 St. Lauderdale was a volatile place where he regularly fought with neighbors and siblings. In 1990, at age 15, Dawson was charged with disorderly conduct for making a threat against his mother as she tried to discipline him. A month later, he was charged with assault after a 13-year-old told his parents Dawson punched him in the face and threatened to put him in the hospital if the teen didn't bring him $25 the next day. It ended in a bloodbath. Although Jesse is now in police custody, the investigation continues and the victim's family members remain in protective custody, said Godwin. When asking he was certain that Dawson acted alone in the killings, the police director offered an ambiguous answer. We are very confident in where we are, but again, we will continue the investigation, he said. Erica Smith, the mother of one of Cecil's children, said Dawson's arrest for the mass murder hasn't brought her relief. True, I never be relieved, end quoted. She said, end quote, I never get my son no more. I never got my son no more. Cheryl Green, the sister of victim Sherry Robinson, said she was surprised to learn Dawson confessed the killings. Okay, so that is the story of the Leicester Street Massacre.